I'm excited to catch up with you
Yeah,
now
to
and
chat.
dive back into season two.
Yeah.
This
Come on.
I want to go back and talk about how you immersed yourself in the role when you were making that transition with your hidden identity. Because I heard how you went hiking and you trained and you did. Talk to me about this process.
That was a time yeah, we were in New Zealand. That was a long time ago. That was like 2020, which is now crazy. 5 years has passed since we started this show. And that was, yeah, we had so much time then. Like we had a lot of time to prepare. So I just tried to utilize it. And the fact that we were in New Zealand, which it's the home of Lord of the Rings on screen, right? And there were so many places to go and things I could visit. So yeah, I did as much as I could when I was there. And it set me up a lot into kind of be able to jump into doing this show and you know, become a part of the world and play this amazing character.
You're filming in such an incredible environment, and then the set designing is like out of this world. What were some of your favorite things that you took away from filming on location and how the set made you feel?
They're incredible. I mean, the first season I filmed a lot on in Numenor and in these amazing locations in New Zealand and then you go to the second season. I spent my whole time in a forge, basically, inside in a dark, very smoky forge, which was incredible. Like the level of detail and the stuff that the craftspeople do on this show is amazing, and then it's enhanced by um the amazing um VFX team when you actually see it, and then they also help practically on set a lot as well, which they don't have to do, but we were in the forge and we had real fire. When I walk out of the flames, there's Anatar, and it's a fully functioning forge. It's amazing that Charlie and I were able to. It kind of felt like we were doing a play because we were able to. It's fully interactive. Walk up and down the room. Yeah, it's very very special.
Your character undergoes this significant transformation from Halbrand to Anatar. What Describe your vocal performance? How did that evolve to reflect change?
Uh, I I started off doing kind of a, a general northern accent, being Halbrand, which kind of gave him this earthy quality. And then when I changed to Sauron, Anatar, I I went through a bit of a process working with Leith McPherson, our amazing dialect coach, and I mean she does so much more for the show than dialect. She helped me sort of develop this voice that was RP, basically a posh English voice, because Sauron's talked to being very regal in his Anatar form, and it kind of made sense. But the vocal quality of it was kind of had to be quite sustained, like his movement and light, and it's like a kindness to his voice, which almost makes him scarier in a way. And yeah, the pitch. I tried to keep originally tried to make the pitch quite different. I made it quite high pitched. But then I did a couple of rehearsals, and the showrunners came up to me and said, maybe you should try and drop the pitch back down to where Halbrand's voice was, and that's kind of what unlocked the voice of the character. So yeah, it was a process, like everything is.
So, which scene in season two would you say took the most takes to get, and why?
Gosh, I don't know. The the um the fight scene with Galadriel at the end probably took quite a few takes because there are so many things that have to go right and very technical. Actually no. We use this thing called a techno dolly, which is when you're working with if there are two different worlds colliding. So if it's like the elves and the dwarves, which I'd never experienced, if they're working together, you have to get all the scale right. So this techno dolly does the same. I mean, I don't know how it works, but it does the same movement for multiple takes but then it'll to establish kind of a setup, and then it'll then basically everyone adjusts their positions, but the techno dolly does the same thing again, and they mold the takes together. But that took ages. It's the same when the dwarves come and visit Eregion, and we give them a bunch of rings. So yeah, that was always a challenge.
Well, that's so cool though to get to play with that.
It's very cool. And if you're an elf, you end up wearing a backpack with a pole and then your headshot stuck on top of the pole because the it's for the eye line for the dwarves because they can't look at you in the eyes, otherwise they'll be on the same level. So there's all this quite funny stuff, which was really cool because I hadn't experienced that in the first season.
So cool.
Uh,
Uh, so which part of Sauron's character would you say you found most relatable?
oh gosh, this is always a dangerous question. It's a good question because he's like a tyrant. So I don't know what I can say. I think oh well, actually, he has a desire kind of for control, right? And order. And Tolkien always talked about him as um he always wanted to avoid wasteful friction. So I think I have a similar desire for control in my own life, maybe that is to a lesser extent. But yeah, I sometimes I struggle to let go of things that I can't control and forget about them. So yeah, a bit less than Sauron though, I hope.
Well, and he truly believes he's saving the world, you know?
Exactly. He just thinks he's a good bloke.
Yeah, yeah. I've met a few people like that. Um, so I want to hear more about filming. I would love to hear more about filming that final confrontation scene.
Mhm.
Um, tell me what went into that.
Well, there's a lot of preparation, and it's tricky because with the filming schedules and our schedules in general, to get Morvith and I in the same place at the same time was always a challenge. So we did a lot of individual preparation, and then with the stunties that were playing, we're doubling each of us. Um, and then it comes together and kind of mold the two bits of choreography together, which it's always different when you're doing the same choreography but with a different person. So we spent a lot of time preparing individually and then bringing it together right before we were filming on the set. And I think we did it in a couple of different locations, which always makes it tricky. But Charlotte directing it was very particular on having, and we agreed, we wanted to create a scene that was like, it was all about the emotional connection and less about the fighting. So it's about their history and their future and how they relate to each other. And then the actual physical confrontation is an addition to that. It's not about the fact that they're fighting each other with swords. It's about how her resisting him and him trying to pull her back to the darkness. How that manifests in a sword fight, I guess. So it was a lot of fun to prepare, and then to watch her play a version of me, and then Charlie Edwards come in and play a version of me was quite fun as well.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
That's just cool to
cool.
see. Um, what would you say if there was a line in season two that fans should remember heading into season three? What would it be?
I think there's kind of a line that's a really good question. There's a line which kind of has been throughout the whole show, which is true creation requires sacrifice, right? And that line or variations of that line kind of articulate an integral part of Sauron's journey because I think we know from the lore what's to come, right? He still seeks like this ultimate power over Middle Earth, and it's what he can do to bring that to fruition. And I think that line is very important.
So, if your character had a Spotify playlist,
Yeah,
what three songs would be on it?
I do have a Spotify playlist for Sauron. but it changes every season. So I haven't actually made my one for this season yet, but for the third season. But for the second season, what was on there? I had a lot of cathedral like choir music. I think King's College, Cambridge, was on there. Some Christmas carols and stuff. And then I had, so we'll go, that's one, just Christmas carols and choir music. Two, I had a Bee Gees song on there, How Deep Is Your Love? Um, which was I just think that's a really sinister song for some reason. And oh yeah, it's the band's called it's an artist called Enigma, old school, who I added quite a bit of their music on there as well. So yeah, three very different genres actually.
I love that. Well, I just asked Daniel, I've got some trivia for you too, and I would just ask Daniel a couple questions because I know you had a theme by a particular artist
Did
for
I?
your. Well, that's what I read. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I haven't said the theme, have I?
No, you have it. You have it. She's a pretty big pop star.
Uh what are we talking? Can you give me
Okay.
some clues?
I'll give you
Wait,
the
you give me the actual question.
I've got it was which musical artist theme did Charlie Vickers adopt for his portrayal of Sauron? And the options were Beethoven,
Yeah,
Johnny Cash,
yeah.
or Taylor Swift.
I guess it's Taylor Swift, right?
Is that right?
I don't know where I said that. I mean, it must have been on one of my playlists. What
Yes,
song did you read?
hero.
Oh yeah, interesting, interesting. Yeah, yeah. I think that was in that was in one of my playlists at one point. Yeah.
It was in an interview with Entertainment Weekly. Yeah, I
Classic. Classic.
but I heard also you were a Johnny Cash fan.
I think I had a lot of Johnny because that's like there's two correct answers because I had a bit of Johnny Cash in the first season. Uh that was very Halbrand. And yeah, so I had quite a bit of Johnny Cash in season one as well. But maybe the anti-hero Taylor Swift, maybe that was in the depths of the playlist. I'm sure it was in the playlist, it's quite a big playlist. So I'm sure I said that. Uh, definitely, it must have been in there.
Taylor Swift's on everyone's playlist. I
Exactly. Who doesn't have
know.
in their playlist?
All right, I've got a couple more trivia questions. If
Okay.
you play along. Um, who was presented with a miniature model of their character after filming?
I think that was Charlie Edwards. I think it's is that him with all the spears in him or whatever, or the vine, the tree that like, yeah.
Hey, totally.
Very cool. I don't know why he got one. None of us did.
That was good. That was, I mean, we should campaign for that. I feel
Yeah,
like
exactly.
there's time for season three.
Yeah.
Okay. Who was the last actor to learn their character's true identity during filming?
This is a process of elimination. I was definitely a contender, but I actually think Dan Wayman was the last.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're really good at this.
Well, I mean, I should know the answer to that probably. It was good.
He learned just before filming the scene.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's because his character had memory loss. So like that kind of works for him, right? The only question I haven't known was the question about me so far.
Well, it's pretty good. I mean, the other one I was going to ask the other two was who had to perform scenes with a rope harness attached throughout the day, but
I already talked about that.
I think we know the answer to that.
Yeah, yeah.
Lastly, I guess just if there's anything that you are just most excited to share with the world in season three.
Yeah. What can I say about season three? I'm sure they've given me a bunch of things that I can and can't say, but I haven't looked at them. So I'll just share what I think I'll be able to share. Um, I think it's kind of like Middle Earth moving into the next stage of the history, right? So we have all these rings that have been created, and it's now we're going to watch the impact of them um, on all the different people of Middle Earth, whether it's men, elves, dwarves, Numenorians. You start to see a lot more. Everything kind of centers around the Rings of Power, dare I say.
So exciting.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
It was awesome catching up with
Great
you.
to catch up. Thanks, sorry.
Thanks for being a good sport. It was a blast.
Pleasure.